So today I want to talk about your self-concept, your concept of yourself, your identity, in a way that hopefully is going to drive even deeper the true importance of self-concept, this self-identity, that it's so foundational to everything that you're going to manifest that you can't skip it. You can't just stay in that old character role that you've been playing and then expect to manifest something completely different that wouldn't match what that old character that you've been playing would get. So we're gonna get real deep into this today, and before we start, my name is Genevieve. I'm a manifestation coach. I mainly talk about the teachings of Neville Goddard, the law of assumption. There are always some other very supportive complementary things that I often throw in my teachings to help you really get law of assumption stuff even deeper, because law of assumption is very heady and that can accidentally make us relate to law of assumption purely from an egoic place. And often when you're just egoically relating to it, you're just sort of keeping all the information up here and you're not really embodying it in your being, your state of being, then the shifts you see can be kind of superficial or not very permanent, and then you get frustrated. So I talk about a lot about different things that can help you deepen in these big identity shifts. So if my style of coaching, if these videos and all that, if it's really just exactly what you need to hear, it's exactly the level of teaching that you feel like you're at right now, there are ways to work with me down below. There are 3 courses now available to you. They're all really in-depth, very excellent. I love seeing the emails I get from you guys as you finish the courses and how you are so much happier. You have really shifted. I also always hear how, like, the repeated thing of like that these courses are so much more in-depth than other manifestation type courses out there. So I'm just really honored to hear that from you guys, because that was my goal, to make these much more in-depth, much more informative, and really help you guys to actually shift in a deeper way and not just in this kind of superficial egoic way. So those are down below. You can also join the membership portion of this channel, where on that side of the channel, I give a lot more tools and teachings, and I have some meditations and affirmation tapes, and then I just go more in depth in some of the teachings in just terms of giving you more tools and things. So if you want more of that from me, I highly recommend you join the membership part of the channel. There are 3 levels to which you can like join, and you get like more stuff, obviously, like the more you sign up for a higher tier. So make sure you read what's included in each one to make sure you get the level of stuff that you want to get. So just check out all the links below to figure out what is the best option for you moving forward. And now let's get into your self-concept. So as you heard me say in the beginning of this video, you can say self-concept in a lot of different ways. And sometimes when we say self-concept in the manifestation community, it's like sometimes we hear that term so much we forget what we're actually referring to. And what we're really referring to is your identity, your concept of yourself. Who do you really identify as? Who do you think you are? Because you can only receive as much as you think that you can hold. You are not going to be able to get all of the love or money or health or whatever. You're not going to be able to get that stuff if you still have a concept of yourself that can't hold that stuff. And what do I mean by that? So I want you to remember that your concept of self, your identity, is really just like a role that you're playing in this life. So think of it like a play, and there's different characters in the play. And let's think of the girl in the play who's like really low self-esteem. She's really sad. She thinks she's really ugly. She's always hiding beneath, baggy clothes, and she's got glasses. I don't know, whatever the weird Hollywood thing they would do to a girl like that would look like. Like, there's that character. And now imagine that character is suddenly thrust into like the main character role, but she's not really able to play that role because she only knows how to identify as the loser girl, or the girl that never gets what she wants, or the girl that's invisible, and blah blah blah, all that stuff. So imagine how she would react if suddenly you took that character and were like, okay, now this whole play is going to focus on you. You're the main character and you're going to get all this attention and all this stuff is going to be given to you, all this love and stuff. That girl, the loser girl, would probably have like a panic attack and freak out because that identity cannot hold the stuff. Even if in her ego she wants that. So because typically that girl, that archetype of identity does want that stuff. Like it's a part of her thing that she's lonely and sad and she wants to be seen on some level, or she wants love on some level, but she's never able to receive it. That's kind of a part of what keeps her narrative going, is the yearning. The yearning is a part of her narrative, her identity. So when you actually put her in a position where it's okay, now you actually have it. Now you actually have all of the things you ever thought you wanted. She would not, in a sustainable way, know how to just have all that stuff. And this is actually a real phenomenon. There is interesting research into people who have won the lottery, people who came from a lot of poverty, a lot of maybe even addiction issues, or, you know, things where they were chronically poor, but then all of a sudden they do manifest winning the lottery. And what is seen over and over again is that people who were never taught how to have a lot of wealth and how to have the identity that knows how to handle a lot of wealth, they lose all that money, all those millions and millions of dollars. They lose it extremely quickly because even though they manifested in that moment, oh my gosh, all this money, if their identity doesn't shift, if they still have the identity of someone who's only known poverty, only known addiction and struggle, or whatever it is, it could be lots of different things. If they can't get out of that identity, that money, those millions of dollars that seems like it would last forever, is going to slip through their fingers extremely quickly because they cannot hold it. They don't have the identity to sustainably hold on to that. And a lot of you have maybe experienced a version of that when it comes to your manifesting, where sometimes you do manifest in your specific person coming back, but like it's like they slip through your fingers because it's like they come back because your affirmations worked or something like that. But because you and your self-concept haven't developed the identity that can easily accept that it's normal for your specific person to come back. It's almost uninteresting that they come back to you because of course you have the self-concept that's like, of course, love and the people that I love come to me so easily. Like it's not even that surprising that they would come back to me. Like if you don't have an identity that's quite like that, they're gonna come in, you're gonna freak out because you kind of weren't even expecting to like get them in some ways, and then they just as quickly kind of drift back out again. So this is why, I hope this is landing, that this is why your self-concept, your real sense of yourself, your real identity that you hold towards yourself and about yourself is extremely important when it comes to manifesting like long, sustainable shifts in your life. So now, I don't know why I always laugh when I pull up my board. I've only used this once before in a video and now we're doing it again. We're doing some whiteboard stuff. I feel like the Wish version of Tom Kieran. He's got a great channel, by the way. If I think, what's his channel called? The Be Something Wonderful channel. He is another manifestation coach that I would definitely recommend if you don't know him. But yeah, so this is just another example when it comes to identity. So both of these people are obviously manifesting SPs, and also don't judge my artwork. They're artistically rendered faces and all that fun stuff. And so this guy over here, so he's got this dominant identity here that says, I must overcome the lack of love in my life. So that's kind of a pervasive thought, a pervasive feeling of reality in his experience, in his identity, where he feels like I must overcome this feeling of, or this lack of love in my life. So manifesting an SP or attempting to manifest an SP. And then this person over here has an identity that says love and opportunity seem to, oh my gosh, I can't read my own handwriting. Love and opportunity seem to find me everywhere I go. And then down here I wrote manifesting SP without having to try so hard. So because this person has genuinely shifted their identity, where it's not so much even about the SP anymore. It's really about this person can just accept that, like, yeah, love and opportunity are easy and natural for me to perceive and accept and experience in my reality all the time. It's not odd. It's not missing from my life. It's not something I have to chase or look for. And then, so therefore, they are not manifesting an SP from a state of lack. So I hope that makes sense to you in terms of why we say so often that you cannot manifest an SP or anything from a state of lack. What that means is that your identity underneath the manifestation is trying to make up for something that you think that you're lacking. But you have to remember that manifestations, physical manifestations, are a result of your own inner sense of ease and abundance about that particular topic. This is also why, side note, I'll say, your self-concept is extremely dynamic. I've worked with so many clients where they have an extremely abundant career or an abundant social life or family life, but when it comes to their romantic life, that is where they feel this void, this lacking, this sense of like, yeah, I don't have romantic love. It's very difficult for me to have romantic love, like something like that. But other parts of their life, because their self-concept in that part of their life, they have a different self-concept. Your self-concept is actually different in every single relationship you have, which is another fascinating thing. This is why self-concept is a really big topic, and it's very dynamic, very even complex in some ways, because think about it. Every relationship that you have or had in your life, you were kind of a different person in each relationship. Like, you relate in a different dynamic, in a different way, and you kind of change your identity very subconsciously based off of the old feedback of that relationship. You've developed a particular identity, a particular self-concept in every single relationship that you have. So that's important to address when it comes to manifesting specific people. But I'll just say for this video, I want you to address your self-concept for categories where it's like, okay, so if you've got a great self-concept in terms of maybe your career or all that, you don't really obviously need to focus on that category, but you do need to focus on what role are you playing when it comes to your love life. And this also, because I get that like a lot of the examples that I'm giving today are very, 3D based, because we do obviously want 3D manifestations. It's not about acting in the 3D. It's not about going out and like putting on a vibrato or like a false sense of confidence. You might have like kind of short-term flashes of feedback from that. But I'm talking about, when I say your reality, I'm talking about your internal reality, because that is what is manifesting outside. It's not who you are trying to be. It's not even who you think you are. It's who you're genuinely being that manifests. And you'll hear me say that a lot if you watch my videos. It's not what you're trying to force in your mind. Like, oh, if I just think that I'm this enough, I'll just become this. It's who do you genuinely think you are? Who are you genuinely being towards yourself, at yourself, and therefore who you're being in the world? Who are you really being? Are you to go back to the example that I gave in the beginning of this video, are you the sad loser girl who feels like nobody loves her, but she's like trying a tactic of trying to be confident or trying to wear sexier clothes to like get attention, but it backfires because it's still not the attention she wants? Are you doing that, in which you're trying to put a mask over the costume you're already wearing? Costume being the old identity. Are you not taking off that old identity and instead you're just like putting more masks on top of it? Or are you completely taking off the old costume, the old identity, and completely saying, I am this now. I don't relate to the sad loser girl or whatever. That sounds so bad to call her that. But you're saying, I don't relate to that at all. That there's nothing I'm acting from that state that's trying to get something to make up for something. Instead, I completely relate to the person that just knows in my internal world, the way that I relate to myself internally is that love easily finds me, that I am so well connected, that I have so much opportunity available to me. You have to really believe that internally before you're going to see results. Because this is another super big thing where people say, well, how can I believe that if I've never had that before, or I've never seen that before? And it does not matter. It does not matter what has manifested in the 3D before. It doesn't matter if you've ever seen feedback that would support that before or not. It really is about the genuine new relationship that you're building within yourself in terms of how are you talking to yourself now? How are you thinking to yourself? How are you believing to yourself? Really notice what your self-talk is throughout the day. Like, are you having self-talk that's seeing the lack in yourself and the lack in the world most of the time? Or are you having more self-talk that is about, you know, ease and self-love and knowing that everything's going to work out for you, and that in some ways, like, nothing is even that big of a deal, because even if a weird thing does come up, you're going to be able to just sail right through it? Like, are you being genuinely more positive within yourself, towards yourself, about your life? Or are you still seeing yourself through the lens of this like fearful lack, where it's like, oh my God, I still don't have this and I need to do more, or I am blah, 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 I'm still not fit enough, or I'm still not this enough? Like, are you still doing that kind of stuff? Because that's telling on yourself in terms of who you're really being, what your genuine self-concept is. Because the more you're in that kind of a lack stuff towards yourself, about yourself, the more you know, okay, my self-concept right now is not very good. I am thinking of myself as if things don't work out for me. This is hard. Life is hard. I have to try hard to be noticed or try hard to be chosen. You know, there's a million different versions of thoughts that could accompany any kind of lack within you. So you just know, okay, that's who I'm being. And then remember, it really is as simple as catching that, being the higher operant power observer of who you're being. Because who you're being, this is another side note, but it's an important one. You are none of the roles that you play in this life. You are none of the identities, even the positive ones or the negative ones. You, as the operant power of your life, are recognizing yourself as a divine being that has manifested this physical form for you to experience. But this form is more like a avatar, I guess I would say it. That sounds so weird. Like, I'm getting into like far out stuff now, like we're really in the Matrix, and I really don't like going towards that language. But it kind of is. Like, you're seeing it as like, this is the physical form that I've chosen to manifest for this lifetime. And I can kind of take that form. It's like The Sims. That's what I'll say. It's like The Sims. And you can do with this form what you want, but you are not the form itself. You are the divine God, the everlasting divine creation power that is beyond all of this, that you existed before your birth and you will exist after your death. And the more that you can relate to that in a really empowering and positive way, and not in like a spooky ego, because the ego does not like that. It's like totally freaked out that you existed before birth and after death. It doesn't, because the ego only relates to this body. It doesn't really relate to anything else besides the physical. But the more you can acknowledge, okay, the reason I can change my identity and actually change it fairly easily, although it does definitely take some focus, especially in the beginning, if you're making a really big paradigm shift in your identity from a strong lack identity to a strong fulfillment identity, there is going to be some focus, a lot of redirection, especially in the beginning. It's going to feel like you're maybe swimming upstream in the beginning, because to the lack identity, the fulfilled identity doesn't feel normal. It doesn't feel believable yet. So it takes some focus and some practice to get there. And that's why you have a manifestation practice, a daily practice. And it's at this point too that I'll say, if you resonate with the things I'm talking about today, the self-concept overhaul course that I have down below, the 31-day course, is exactly what you need. It is going to give you the structure that you need to get yourself to make that shift from the lack place where you're like, don't have things yet, I'm really trying hard, but nothing's working out, to, okay, I can more easily just accept that I am fulfilled. So just, if that makes sense to you, just get the course. It'll just give you everything you need to get through this. So there's that this will take some practice, and it might not feel natural in the beginning, but really the goal that I want you to remind yourself of all the time is that this really is about your internal relationship to yourself. Your identity shifts when you, the operant power, start to treat yourself differently. And you are able to see, like I was saying before, that it is easier to switch identities when you know that you are not the identity. Like if you really do believe, and I do have a lot of clients who are like this, it's hard for them to shift because they're like, all I've ever known is the lack. All I've ever known is that people don't like me. All I've ever known is that things don't work out for me. And that feels so strongly like me that I can't even fathom. It doesn't feel believable. It doesn't feel real to even suggest that I might be able to have, because I'm so glued to the point that some people become defensive. It's kind of fascinating as a coach to see people actually become defensive of their old stories. And I think it's so subconscious to them that they don't even see that they're doing it. But the minute that you suggest, well, that's not real because it's just a thing you've experienced and you can choose to experience a different thing based on the relationship that you have to yourself. Just saying that to some people, they're just like, no, it is real. This is super real. This is all I've ever known. And this is me over here. It's like, yeah, it's not going to work to manifest for you if you're defensively protecting that identity. But at the same time, on a human level, it makes sense. When that's been your identity for so long, you think that that's all you got, and you think you do have to protect it because you're just like, oh my God, this is all I am. And I've learned to adapt to life so well with this lack thing, even though it's not serving me. I know it well. I know how it works. I know how to live life in this state. So that state is built up these defense mechanisms. So just be aware of that. And that's why I, again, bring up the thing of like, the more you know yourself as none of the identities, you are greater than, you are a divine being. You are not the positive identity or the negative one. And that's why you're able to choose and become a different identity, because you are none of them. So the more that you can see it through that lens and not through this like completely egoic lens of like, everything I have experienced, that is me, and I must protect who I am, and people should not threaten my experiences and my identity because that is me. Like if you are in that kind of state where you feel defensive about your old experiences and therefore your old identity, it is going to be hard for you to shift into the new state. So that's just a thing to be aware of, and it's okay if you need to be gentle on yourself to work around that. But I also have to be honest and say it's going to be difficult if you're saying, for example, that you want to manifest love or an SP. It is going to be difficult for you to actually have a relationship to that SP or to that new love or whatever, for example, if you are defensively still clinging to the old lack you that never gets what you want. Like, I hope you can see how those two things don't work. And this is why self-concept is so important when it comes to manifesting these big things like love and health and career and money and all that, like those big things that come with having an identity shift. So I hope that you are seeing that self-concept is not just like a nice thing we throw around because it's like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if you loved yourself, or wouldn't it be nice if you thought better about yourself? We're not saying it to you in that way as if it's like a nice extra that would be good for you just to like add on to what you're really manifesting. We're talking about self-concept because for a lot of you can't, although I hate to say it that way, but like it's going to be difficult for you to manifest these bigger physical things if you continue to play the character, to play the identity of someone that wouldn't have something like that. Again, if you are the girl who doesn't get what she wants and she's ignored and she's seen as a loser or whatever, that girl, the way the script for that girl goes, she doesn't get what she wants. Like that's just the way the script goes for that girl. That's her narrative, that she doesn't get what she wants, and she kind of almost subconsciously feeds off of that, not getting what she wants. So you need to see that for what it is and be like, okay, I have to let that version of me go. If this is you, I mean, that's just the one example I'm giving to you. There's lots of different versions of lack identities or old states that you can be in. That's just the example I'm giving in this video. But you have to see clearly what the old narrative is that you're really living by as your identity, and be like, okay, if that person wouldn't easily be able to accept this kind of love or this kind of health or this kind of success into their life, I've got to start relating to success in general as if it's easy for me, as if it's like totally normal for me, as if I'm used to like always being successful and always being adored. I have to start relating to myself and therefore to the idea of success or love or whatever it is in this different way. And then it's then just a lot easier to assume that your SP or whatever loves you or whatever. Because when the whole category within your identity has been reset, and love isn't this like difficult thing where, you know, everyone you like always leaves you, or, you know, things never work out for you in love. When that is no longer your personal narrative, it's obviously much easier to then get more specific of like, okay, obviously everything works out for me. Love is great. I genuinely practice treating myself every day like love is easy for me. It's available to me all the time. I've got an abundance of love. It's almost too much love. I've got all these offers coming to me all the time. When that's genuinely how you're practicing relating to yourself, it then becomes way easier to assume that this specific person is obviously a part of that abundance. So identity, it is important. And that's why self-concept is so important. So I hope this video was helpful for you today. Please let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are, how self-concept stuff has affected you, and the shifts you're making around that. Of course, I also love to hear your questions and requests for different future topics I could talk about. If it's a thing that I think would help a lot of people, I will make potentially a video about it, but I don't guarantee or promise. So there you go. I will see you guys in my next video. All right, bye.